the founder of the Church of Satan's daughter, Zeena, has come out, made an interview with Jordan Peterson, and I thought it was quite an interesting one. There was something she said in that interview that was quite interesting. It actually takes me back. If you are wondering, who is this founder that I'm speaking about? The one and only, of course, Anton LaVey, the gentleman standing here with the horns. Zeena is this young lady who was sitting here during a ritual that I'll come back to in a second. Now, she made this interview with Jordan Peterson. I didn't know about it. I actually just kind of like saw it recommended, and I was like, what? That's pretty wild. That's like very hectic. If you know how Zeena was deep into Satanism, now she didn't turn to being a Christian. She's a Buddhist and stuff like that. But it's some things that she said about her father and how he was so used to using people and stuff like that. Now, in this video, I want to show the importance of outlining doctrine properly to win people, not spreading lies. And I want to use this episode. It took a minute to put together, so please do leave a like on the video. It will help it out to reach other people. Now I want to show you how deep Zeena was. Okay, remember, this is their daughter. Okay, this was a picture of her with her father right there, Anton LaVey, the founder himself. And that particular picture that I showed you, this is how deep this man had taken his family. Zeena was sitting here during a ritual for her by her father. And you may see the hand here. And so this was a better picture that I could get that showed you what kind of a ritual it was. Anton had done this ritual with a naked woman right behind her. It was a pretty wild thing. This guy was into some very dark stuff and all that kind of stuff. But on top of it, it's the Church of Satan. What do you expect? But I want to show you how deep he herself, how she herself was in this entire organization. In an interview that appeared on television versus a person who was opposed to Satanism.
I think it's very important to state that books like these are only published by Christian outlets. You know, I showed this to a friend of mine who is a well-known literary agent, and he threw it back at me and said this couldn't be taken seriously in any real publishing company.
Let's let you answer.
Wait a second, because I also saw him at last Sunday at the Amy Semple McPherson Church giving one of his lectures. Now, what I'd like to know is if, you know, he claims this is an unbiased look at Satanism. Here it says authoritative, unbiased. Then why don't you come on the show saying that you're a minister?
Well, I think the way to answer is, first off, that we can no longer deny the phenomenon that teenagers are the prime recruitment category for Satanism. Let me just pause, Zeena, and remind you what your father told the Washington Post. Let's give credit where credit's due. The satanic rock lyrics, the satanic movies, and even the satanic murders all grew from the Church of Satan. Let's give me a little credit for having moved society up or down, but for at least having moved it. And the problem is...
Well, let's bring the audience up to date for just a second. Jerry,
So you heard, like, that man literally quotes some of the things that the father was saying, and of course she would skew it to one side or the other. She no longer ascribes to some of these ideas and how damaging. And by the way, her appearances were drawing a lot of people. And that's one of the ways that she actually goes, that's one of the things that she actually goes on to actually speak about in this interview with Jordan Peterson.
It created a new upsurge in membership. And my father realizing this is kind of a funny detail, my father realizing that I was actually generating more income for him and more membership. I remember he told me once that because I was doing such a good job representing him and that there were new members coming in, that he was going to, that he would actually pay me, I think 25% of all new memberships that come through that actually mention that they've seen me and wrote to join. So
basically she's talking about how she was trying to get into the industry, and it was not working out as well. But then, because she was doing these public appearances, and he saw that it was bringing people to join and build the membership. The only thing he could think about was, you know what, I'll pay you off to continue doing that and stuff like that. And she talks about, you didn't even do that for very long. But hey, remember, the Satanic Bible actually advocates for greed. It speaks about self-advancement so much. Not so much as it hurts people, that's how they put it, but then they push for greed in the sense of self-advancement. So this can be very harmful, and it's no wonder that a father completely takes advantage of his child in a manner that he actually did, that to use it so that he can recruit more people. But I want to show more from this discussion.
But that dropped out, and not that I was doing it for the money, but I thought, for the first time in my life, I thought, oh, my father's actually doing something for me to help me, and he's actually acknowledging my contribution to what I'm doing for his organization. But it didn't last. It didn't last. And then that was that, and you asked me something else about. So here, I want to clarify.
Yeah.
Because of the new upsurge of membership. Here again, my father would cherry pick the people that he felt like, well, these people are in a category of movers and shakers. They're kind of like in the new punk scene, and he was an old fart at that point, so he thought, well, this'll, maybe they'll boost my ratings with the cool kids.
Now, she's talking about the kind of things that these people who were going out and making these interviews, her and her husband, by the way, the kind of audience that it was bringing. He realized that through strategy, the more these guys actually went out, it actually brought a certain type of an audience, right? I remember an interview that Ruslan made with this other gentleman, and this gentleman also mentions this fringe element of how he came to joining Satanism. And I thought it was quite an interesting one because it fits exactly what Zeena was mentioning over there right here.
Person in the other was doing like some weird stuff, but it doesn't matter. And so I got into that, and then I started to get into like learning about religion, and then I did the contrarian thing where I'm angry at religion as an institution of man and what they're up to and politics and whatever. And so then I got into Satanism because that's like what girls are into.
Okay, hold on, back up.
Like goth girls.
So I had a Satanist acquaintance that I'll tell you about offline because people are going to freak out. A handful of our core. When you say Satanism,
yeah,
are you talking about atheist trolling religion Satanism? Or are you talking about actual power in the satanic
They're the same
aspect?
thing.
They're the same. They're the same thing.
They're no different. People. So the Satanism that's like registered with the government, the like quote unquote religion that uses its church, for lack of a better term, in order to affect politics, like trying to take the Ten Commandments down because they're like, well, if you get the Ten Commandments, we get Baphomet type thing. Those people are trying to be secular, and it is like it's an aesthetic dressing. Them are interested in witchcraft and magic, are doing actual Satanism, and so it would be like if you started a fake Christian church and then people started showing up and they were like, well, it's Christian, let's do Christian stuff even if it's aesthetic, and then before you know it, you're like, what would Christ want us to do on Monday?
So what he's talking about here, you can go and watch the video from Ruslan's channel when he interviewed this guy. I thought it was quite an interesting one because it highlights how the strategies to recruit a different audience using different people. And so, which is what she was describing there, which is what Zeena was describing there, how he would use all these other, the same way he used his daughter. By the way, when you go back into the interview, there's something that she mentions alongside this point.
And so there was a new upsurge in the membership of what he would call the rubes, but then there was also a new upsurge in what he cherry-picked as his little inner circle, and that was of these new kind of hipster, kind of edgy, punky or whatever, just I wouldn't even know how to describe them.
So basically, the same thing that this guy was describing, that they're into this rough life, tattoos all over the body, whatnot, because she didn't subscribe to that. But then they found that by putting a certain circle, the father, the founder of the Church of Satan, found that by having this kind of people, it influenced what kind of people came forward. And this is why when you look forward, like, you can see what kind of people he hung around. When Sammy Davis Jr. came through, he was a celebrity, very popular. When he came through, Anton LaVey brings that person close to him so that he can lead on the influence. And so the quiet girl thing, he lets his daughter go there. And the punk guys, the rock hardcore, he lets those ones go out. And so by all means, which is exactly what I've warned against, this thing of, if you choose the politics, the devil has a concoction to convince that type of an audience. Now, if you want the conspiracy type, the conspiracy then takes, there'll be people that will speak conspiracy to feed you in that lane. Not interested in God. It's the same thing with church. There are people that are in church right now who do not want God. They want their African traditions and whatnot. And so because there is now a wing that provides that, they will say, I'm Christian, but I do this. Sangoma, but I do this. It's that this is the tricks of the devil. Within truth, we have one defined truth. We don't have all these concoctions to cater to everybody, which is what you see is the same strategy that Satan was using. Now, around the same time when people like Sammy Davis Jr. was getting into Satanism and stuff, there's a lot of Hollywood people, and alongside the same time when you would look at newspapers from that particular period, I mean, this is a newspaper from the 1988s and so forth, and you can see it would have Bible sermons alongside adverts of selling television sets, right? But then at the same time, the same newspapers were pushing agendas and whatnot, and there were people that were using propaganda. So the devil has all this concoction. At the end of the day, it doesn't all come back to the same truth. There are people that can say repent, but they don't mean the repentance that you're thinking about. I remember when I looked up this entire story and I was trying to kind of like go back and frame this story, I saw this other article from the 1987, speaking about devil worshippers and whatnot. You can see right there, the headline says, Army defense colonel, despite occult belief and I found these stories, which is a perfect example of what I'm talking about right now. And this is a perfect example of what I'm talking about when I say we must be careful to center belief around doctrine. And there were stories of Satanism and cults. This was in the 1984's news thing, and they were talking about a company being associated with Satanism, and very prominent people who were speaking for their beliefs. Okay, like for example, this was an article around the same time. I think this one is from 1979, around the 1979 period. And you have articles of people who were known at the period who spoke for their beliefs. Raymond is a 4th degree warlock in the Church of Satan, and it's really people proudly claiming their belief systems, but at the same time, you still had stories that were littered with conspiracies. And a classic example of this was this story right here about a company that we all know, P&G, the same company that produces these products like Tide, all these Pampers, all these products that you're seeing, Ariel and Oral-B, Always, and the brand for women's thingy, right? And so this company, back then, was accused of one of these conspiracies in association to this particular church. Now remember, this is during the time when there is the Church of Satan is making its own claims, and they are saying their own beliefs and all this kind of stuff. And if the church is not distinguished by doctrine, it gets muffled into the noise. And I found this article from a 1986 newspaper, which was attacking this company, and they were being accused of association into the Church of Satan and whatnot. Now remember, this is in the 80s, but only for these same things to come up again, like in the 90s as well. These stories were so deeply entrenched. There were so many articles that I saw concerning it. Even here you can see P&G would not be getting 400 letters a day from people inquiring about whether the company is in league with the devil, unless a lot of people still believe in the devil, so, and you can go and read these articles in the archive, and which is how you find, basically, by the way, that's how you find articles from way back. That's how I am able to find, by going back into the archives. The archives allows you to see newspapers from the 80s and whatnot. I don't know if I can vouch for the Daily Sun. There was a lawsuit that was filed by the P&G company against a company called Amway Corporation and stuff. And turns out to be that the Amway Corporation and some people were the people that were responsible for the conspiracies, because they sold similar products. And because they sold similar products, they propagated these things. And in the 90s, there was a show by this other lady, and they claimed that one of the producers, one of the CEOs, had gone to this show in the 90s and proudly claimed this. So in the 80s it comes up, in the 90s it comes up again, and one of the presenters of the show actually even made this particular statement that there was no such a broadcasting. If there had been, it would have been all over the place. It would have been headline. It was all lies. Kanti, there was a company that was peddling this narrative and peddling this thing, and they got sued, and I think they got sued for like 19 million or something like that. The lawsuit was massive. You can go and look it up online. And so they got sued and thing. And yes, of course, the company P&G themselves were not helping themselves with their old logo. Their old logo looked like a devil with a horn and 13 stars on the side, 6 sixes on the side over there, but the man on the moon. Their logo wasn't helping the issue, but conspiracies were not thinking. So notice throughout the years, conspiracies and using the public's image or viewpoint in order to peddle their ideas, it's how they won people over. The same way you are hearing that the daughter of Anton LaVey saying, you know what, he would use different kind of people in order to reach different audiences. You see, as long as the devil leaves you in the mixture of confusion, he doesn't really care what you will believe when you are there. As long as you are in the mixture of confusion, someone comes and says, now Jesus said this, and then someone says, no, Jesus didn't say this. And then if we are just in that debate, and we're not talking about What do we believe doctrinally? What does the Bible say? Once we have left the core root of our discussion and we are now debating, this person said this person said this, whoever's got that is got us. Because we're not building where God wants us to build. We must be careful trying to cater what kind of God we want, because the devil becomes very good at catering to those lies. She says he would use either this, he would use celebrities, and because of the craze of the satanic church by that period, guess what? Even companies for profits were using the satanic church news in order to benefit their own products. They got sued for millions. Now, it was not just that particular Amway company that was actually sued. There were multiple people. Because P&G got so concerned, they hired investigators. They tracked down where did these lies start from, and they found the people. Those people were held accountable. People were sued to bits. Okay? The core of the message is doctrine. Don't get too swept away. You are so political. Is Jesus black? You are stuck there to a place where we can't even reach you. Be very clear on what actually creates a Christian discussion. And when people go too far off into something else, stir yourself back, because in that there is nothing you can defend biblically. And so we must be very clear. I thought this interview was thinking it is on Jordan Peterson's platform. You can find the full interview over there. I think it's very important to note one thing here. The devil only uses people. Doesn't care about people. That's why the father was willing to use his daughter to push his advances and his agendas. He was just pushing his agendas, that's what the devil does. He uses people. Be careful, don't be used, and continue to pursue the truth. If you have reached this particular point, thank you very much for watching this video. Do like the video if it does come across thingy, and I will see you on a later on episode. Other episodes done today to be down in the pinned comments. Y'all have a wonderful coming week.